The January transfer window opens tomorrow. The end of 2025 is here and 2026 is upon us. It's the day after a massive 3 points for Arsenal beating Aston Villa 4-1. Manchester City play in a couple of days. But what I want to talk about is 3 scenarios. Mark Gahey, in my opinion, will be followed by Semenyo, the 2 biggest talking points this transfer window. Now, Semenyo, there's an agreement in place. He will be joining Manchester City. It's very, very close to a here we go. Romano has come out and said that. Mark Gahey is an interesting one. And I only saw this a couple of hours ago. After the Crystal Palace game against Arsenal, there was a moment at the end of the game. A few Arsenal players were talking to him. And all of a sudden, developments online, people are now saying, could Gahey join Arsenal? We're also going to be talking about Rodrigo. He is the one. Should Man City sign Semenyo, that is what Arsenal have to do. We're also going to be looking at Man City's next 5 fixtures, Arsenal's next 5 fixtures, and speak about what those 2 teams need this transfer window. Now, that was as good as a big 3 points as you will get in the Premier League last night. Apologies if I sound a little bit rough. The flu is kicking my backside as soon as we enter 2026. Henry gets ill. You couldn't ride it. But that is as big a 3 points you will get last night, right? Man City love the chase. We all know it. We've all seen it in recent years. When Man City are in second, come April, come March, they know how to grind out results. They've been there. They've seen it. They've done it. They've won titles. They've won Champions Leagues. But are they chasing an Arsenal side that we've seen in recent years? Or is this Arsenal side better than before? There's lots to get into this video. Make sure you watch the video the whole way through. Drop a like if you haven't already. We just hit 86,000 subs. So big up to every single one of you. The road to that magic number, 100K, is well and truly on. Big up for all the support throughout 2025. This channel is nearly 2 years old, which is just unbelievable. It really, really is. Make sure you get down to Henry Talks Tottenham. Big, big game for us tomorrow, New Year's Day against Brentford. If we lose that, the pressure is going to mount. It really is going to mount because beating Crystal Palace, you have to follow it up. So make sure you check that out. But I want to look at the league table before we get into the transfer news. I want to talk about the Premier League title race. Man City do have a game in hand. They are currently 5 points away from Arsenal. Arsenal have got another big game this weekend. A fixture last year that they lost, Bournemouth away, in which Saliba was sent off. But I want to look at Manchester City's next 5 games. Now, up until yesterday, the feeling within social media was Man City would run away with the title. The feeling was Arsenal are scraping by through own goals, etc. And I can understand the narrative that's being created on social media because everyone is desperate not to see Arsenal win the league, including me. However, I'm trying to take bias out of it here. These recent results for City, 2-0, 3-0, 2-1, are very, very, very good. And they do look like one hell of a side. What I would say is, though, these up until the end of January is what we're going to find out what City are made of. They've got a comfortable fixture in the FA Cup, which they will heavily rotate. And the same team that will play against Man United will play Brighton. And it will be a mixed team that will play against Exeter and Newcastle. They're playing Chelsea at the weekend. A Chelsea side right now that are in absolute turmoil. And there's talk of them sacking their manager. So if you're a Man City fan right now, you couldn't really play them at a better time. Sunderland tomorrow, not an easy game. Not an easy game by any stretch. They are a good side, but you would expect City to beat them. Where I think City will struggle, every team has a wobble, right? Every team has a wobble. I think it will be during this patch here. They struggle against us year in, year out. They've only beaten us twice at our ground in recent years. Off the back, 3 days later, they play Newcastle in the Cup. 4 days later, they play Liverpool. Then after that, they've got Leeds, which is a really tough place to go to at the moment, Newcastle and Fulham, right? In between all that, they'll have more Champions League games and potentially a League Cup final. In April, they play Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton away. I mean, and that is where, if they are going to drop points, that is where it will be. What City are doing very well, though, is they are strengthening. And I said this in yesterday's video. Romano come out and said, Anton Semenyo, the here we go is expected soon. Manchester City are going out there and signing one of the best forwards in the Premier League right now. Arsenal have to act. They have to. If they don't act, it really is going to be close. Man City and Bournemouth have positive call today to proceed in talks, and the player is prepared to join Man City. Final steps to follow. Here we go soon. Don't matter who you support, that is one hell of a signing. It really, really is. He has got all the credentials to go and succeed at City. And look at their wire players now. Ryan Cherky, Phil Foden, Semenyo, Jeremy Doku. They are going to be very, very strong the back end of the season. Now, a lot of talks out there right now linking Rodrigo and one other player, Mark Gahey. I don't necessarily think Mark Gahey will be an Arsenal player. I understand why some of the links make sense, but I believe as it stands right now, they have got centre-backs that are already doing the job. They've got, the best two centre-backs in the league right now. Let's call it what it is. They have. And they've also brought in, Nkapie, who looks very, 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 very good. Another player being linked is Yildiz. Now, a lot of the Arsenal targets right now, Arsenal and Chelsea are both looking at, is Yildiz. I don't necessarily think that's probably more realistic than a Rodrigo, but there's a lot of stuff right now all over the socials. I'll bring up the Yildiz report in a minute. There's a lot of stuff right now that kind of makes sense why Yildiz should sign, but I think there's a lot of, there's a lot of news around him right now regarding his contract. He doesn't want to sign. Arsenal is showing interest in Yildiz. Arsenal board have told Arteta, I'll bring up this report now. I've told Arteta he needs to sell one of his attackers to make this happen. And this is why I don't necessarily think this is realistic as it stands. Now, why I don't necessarily think this is realistic as it stands right now is who leaves? Trossard scored last night. Havertz is back fit. Gyökeres has only just signed. There's no way he leaves this early. Gabriel Jesus off the bench and gets a goal. Martinelli maybe is the one that leaves. But again, Yildiz is a fantastic player, but I still think Rodrigo should be the one. Rodrigo makes the most sense for me in terms of he is a maverick. He's what they need to sign. But again, is it the sort of profile that Mikel Arteta wants? I'm going to shut down the Gahey rumours, in my opinion. Gahey doesn't join Arsenal. I'll be honest with you. I don't see it happening. Plus, Gahey would want assurances that he'd start. And I don't think he does. I don't think he's better than Gabriel or Saliba. And it's the World Cup year. It makes sense for Gahey to wait until the summer, or if he's going to join anyone, join Liverpool. So Gahey, for me, will be signing for Liverpool. Man City on the verge of signing Semenyo. Not only that, Oscar Bob most likely will be leaving to join Borussia Dortmund. And you'd imagine they will get back a decent fee from him. Romano tweeted out this saying, Oscar Bob and Borussia Dortmund. You can ask Oscar, not me, says Guardiola. So just completely shutting down rumors, deflecting rumors. He's very, very good at that. Now, when you look at if City signs Semenyo, I believe their forward line is stronger than Arsenal's. Semenyo, Cherki, Foden, Semenyo, Jeremy Doku, and Erling Haaland, for me, is a stronger lineup than Gyökeres, Havertz, Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, Trossard. It just is. They've got more goals in their locker. So this is why I believe Arsenal have to go out there and sign someone. Now, who's that going to be? At the moment, all the rumors suggest it's going to be Yildiz. I just think it is a bit of a gamble because he isn't necessarily as proven as Rodrigo. He isn't necessarily as good as Rodrigo, but it's probably a better profile because he's probably more versatile than a Rodrigo. But it just comes down to what their preference is. But I cannot stress enough to say that how big the Semenyo signing is for City. That is, for me, an unbelievable piece of business. And now, for me, I honestly believe that Arsenal have to go out there and sign someone. Now, City's next 4 or 5 games this month, I don't see them dropping a huge amount of points. The only place they could really drop points is in the Manchester derby. That, for me, is it. The League Cup game for Newcastle, of course, is not Premier League. I think they beat Brighton, Chelsea, Sunderland. Man United, maybe. Ruben Amorim's got a very good record against the big 6 clubs. He's beaten Chelsea this season. He's beaten Liverpool this season. He's got a draw against Spurs this season. Fair enough, he lost to Arsenal and he lost to City, but maybe there's something there for him. That is the only game in the next short term I see them dropping, which essentially means Arsenal have to keep winning. Have to keep winning. Their run of games isn't easy. Chelsea in the League Cup, Liverpool in the league, Inter in the Champions League, but it's not necessarily the most important. And then they play Man United as well. But I fancy them to beat Man United because it is at the Emirates. And at the Emirates this season, they've beaten Spurs, Bayern Munich, Villa, got a point against City. That game in April is massive. Absolutely massive. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts. Who do Arsenal sign? And I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. I'm out.